Okay, I don't know if you guys can see me very well. I'm trying this out by putting my Kindle on the iPod, so if it's a little crooked or something, I apologize. But I wanted to take time to talk about something that's been making the rounds big time over this past day or so. I haven't had a real chance to talk about it because I was doing other videos with my camera, and I'm letting that charge right now. So I'm doing this with the Kindle. Uh, but I want to talk about the news that Brock Lesnar has resigned, from what we understand, a multi-year deal with the WWE. Now, we don't know all the details. Some people do know the details. Some of us don't. Um, but I'm sure a lot of people that may not know the details yet are hoping that this is a multi-year deal that allows him to show up more. Um, I don't know what Vince McMahon offered him last night, but I don't think anybody does, and except for Brock, that is. So. Um, but I look at Brock re-signing with the company, and I look at it like this. I know there's going to be some fans that are happy about it because here's a guy that, let's be quite honest, here's a guy that fans look at as that one piece of the puzzle, that one piece of the puzzle, that one legitimate key that can unlock the door and pave the way for the WWE to get out of the PG era into more of a mature era that it once was known for. Here's a guy that the hardcore fans feel, in a sense, can bring legitimacy to the WWE, bring legitimacy to the WWE World Title, and kind of go back to the days as to when guys like Hulk Hogan had the belt, but they never defended it, every night. I mean, let's be honest. Um, let's be honest. What's going on here? We could be wrong about this. Maybe WWE will screw it up on Sunday. But it seems to me that what WWE is trying to do, and maybe this is more Triple H and a little bit of Vince McMahon, but more Triple H because Triple H is kind of a student of the game, as he puts it, that perhaps they want to go back. Perhaps Triple H sees that the only way they're going to get people behind the company again, get people behind these championships, and not just look at them as props and toys and stuff like that, is to have people hold the belts that can legitimize them. And some fans will point out that if you go back to from the mid '80s to the early '90s, the champion wasn't always there. When the champion would show up, it would be to defend the title, but he didn't always defend the championship. He was there, he would compete, but he wouldn't always defend the title. And sometimes he'd be elsewhere, maybe doing promotional stuff. But it didn't. But what that meant, in a sense, was when you didn't have the champion always there, but you knew he would be there more often. Okay, you knew he was there. You knew because you would always see some visual of him. You would see him appear, maybe do a promo, something like that. But you wouldn't see him all the time in action. You wouldn't see him fighting or wrestling all the time. So, and that goes for even the likes of a Hulk Hogan, a Warrior, and all that. And when they would defend the championships, they would defend them on things like Saturday Night's Main Event, which would be once or twice a month back in the mid to late '80s, and once a month or once every few months in the '90s. That's what it was. It was basically saved for those kind of occasions. And when you look at WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, and SummerSlam, the championship was always defended on those shows the majority of the time. The exceptions being back in the mid to late '80s and early '90s. The exception being things like Survivor Series. WrestleMania 1 is an exception. Survivor Series was always an exception because the champion at most times would be on a Survivor Series team. So that there kind of shows you that the championship never had to be defended all the time, and it brought prestige to it. And when I look at Brock Lesnar resigning, yeah, it kind of throws a wrench into the possibility of Roman winning the championship on Sunday, although he still could. But it throws a wrench kind of in fans' minds that they don't know what's going to happen now. If Brock retains, then what? What I think's going on is they want to go back to that. I think with Brock resigning, the WWE wants to go back to this formula they used to have, where he didn't always appear. Well, the champion didn't always have to appear on television, but you knew when a certain event was going to happen. Like let's say Saturday night's main event or pay per view was going to happen, mostly a Big Four pay per view, that you knew without a shadow of a doubt you were going to see the championship defended. And that's the way I look at it here. I mean, the possibility that Brock could retain this Sunday means, yes, he could defend at Extreme Rules and then maybe wait out a few months, maybe defend next time at Money in the Bank, then wait another few months and then go and defend at SummerSlam, and then maybe Night of Champions, take a month off, maybe do Survivor Series, take a month off, and do Royal Rumble. That's what I'm speculating could happen with this new multi-year contract, that he'll end up defending at Mania if he retains at Extreme Rules, and if he keeps the belt for a little while longer, I could see him holding on to it, taking some time off, allowing some of the mid-tier championships like the Intercontinental in the U.S., which WWE plans to try to bring prestige back to. I could see those championships being put into main event status if Brock retains at things like Battleground and what other pay-per-views were there? There was Battleground, No Way Out, I can see those pay-per-views, if those are still around, being places to where you could have the Intercontinental and the U.S. Championships headline the main event. Heck, you want to reinvigorate the Divas division, here's one way of doing it too. So, to me, that's kind of what I see here. I mean, I see Brock maybe defending at more B-level in-your-house pay-per-views than he has before. I see him doing that. Maybe not as much as people were hoping, not 12 in a row, no. Not the 4 big ones and then the 8 B levels. No, I see him defending at the 4 big ones, at the Big Four. I see him defending at maybe Extreme Rules, maybe Money in the Bank, and Night of Champions. I basically look at it this way. I look at the B-level pay-per-views that WWE seems to want to elevate to almost Big Four status. And I see those being the places that Brock will show up and compete, whether he's the champion or he's not. And really, that's how I see it. Honestly, I do. But again, that kind of tells me that this is what WWE wants to do. They want to go, mostly I think it's, whether you like the guy behind the scenes or not, I think it's Triple H's influence that's helping out. Basically, he's telling Vince McMahon, look, I know we don't agree on a lot of things, but if we lose Brock to the UFC or even just to retirement, what's that going to do for us? We need to have that option open. And I'm sure he's telling Vince, look, fans want these mid-card championships back to being what they used to be. And what better way to do that than to have Brock re-signed, maybe retain if you want to do that, and it gives prestige back to these titles, because when he's gone and the championship's gone with him, we can have these championships be substitutes for it. I'm sure that's the planning stage. When you look at it, I'm sure that's the planning stage. But again, things could change. But like I said, I think that's the mentality that Triple H wants to go back to. That the champion's there. He's under contract, but he doesn't always have to defend the championship. He doesn't always have to compete. But maybe what this contract states is he's got to make more appearances. Maybe not in person, but at least have some kind of video package or video interview or visual aid of some kind to indicate that he's there in some way. He's still part of the company. He's still the champion. And I think that's what they're trying to do with this. I think that's the direction Triple H wants to take the company in the future, and maybe that's what he's trying to convince Vince McMahon to do. Um, and now, and again, I know there will be some fans that are not happy about Brock re-signing and re-signing, knowing that the possibility he could retain on Sunday. I know there's a lot of fans that don't like that, and there's a lot of fans that feel as though why is he, what's going to happen now? What is he going to retain? Is he going to be gone for a long time again? Again, we don't know the specifics of the contract. I'm just going off by what I believe could happen. And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think in all honesty, it's more along the lines they want to go back to that old school mentality, no matter who the champion is. I mean, you could put the belt on Roman Reigns, and he can compete every week, or he could do a promo every week. And guess what? He doesn't have to defend the championship every week, right? He doesn't have to do that. He can compete. He's like, he's there, he's competing in the ring, but he doesn't have to defend the title. You know what I'm saying? And at least in some way, that he's there and he's the champion. And, he could compete every other week if they have to let him. Give him a week off or something like that or whatever. But I understand that fans have become so established and so spoiled by the fact that you got to have a fighting champion. You got to have the champion defend every week, every night. And it's not the case. And I think Triple H looks at that. And again, I think this is all Triple H. I think he looks at this, and he's convincing guys like Vince McMahon, probably with the help of people like Dusty Rhodes and stuff like that. He's trying to convince Vince that, look, your Intercontinental and your U.S. titles are being treated like jokes. Even your Divas division is titles being treated like a joke. We need to give them opportunity to get that prestige back. We need to give them that opportunity to showcase what they can be. And whether you guys like it or not, with Brock re-signing and the possibility of retaining on Sunday, that's exactly what this will do. And again, I know, like I said, I know fans are like, oh great, we're not going to see the champion for another 6-7 months. What's the point? And I also hear already on Facebook, and I'm sure everybody else is going to be talking about this. There's going to be a lot of Daniel Bryan fans. They're going to be like, oh well, you stripped Daniel Bryan after 37 days, and he was injured. Yeah, he was legitimately injured. Even if they did, yeah, he was legitimately injured. Okay. Brock has a specific deal stating that he could be the champion for no matter how. The specifics of the deal, okay, the contract difference between Daniels and Brock's and any other superstars is hugely different. Any other superstars, the WWE World Champion, and they don't defend in 30 days, they're stripped. Brock is in the situation that if he's the champion, and because of the deal he has, because of the scheduling he has and all that, he doesn't get stripped because, in a sense, by him being champion and him being a special attraction, he makes the championship he holds a special attraction as well. And yeah, does it make sense that they're going to sort of follow that UFC motif, as some people would put it? Not really, but when one thinks about it, maybe it's not the UFC motif. Maybe they're trying to go back to what made the championship prestigious in the first place and help elevate championships like the Intercontinental and the U.S. title. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. And maybe we're just so hung up as fans on wanting a fighting WWE World Champion appearing every week, competing in a match, non-title or title, every week, that we can't accept that. We can't accept that. Well, guess what? If Brock retains and Seth fails to cash in, we're going to have to accept it. We've accepted it so far since SummerSlam. We might as well accept it now. And again, I know there's a lot of Daniel Bryan fans that are like, oh, well, they stripped Daniel of an injury. and yet they're gonna give this guy a pass. That's not fair. If I was in charge of WWE, I would strip him right now and I would fire him. Yeah, you would strip him and fire him, and then what? What would you? What would you do? And this is no disrespect, but what would you do? What would you do next? No disrespect. What would you say? Okay, now that we have a vacant championship, Intercontinental Champion Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, or John Cena, U.S. Champion, champion versus champion for the WWE World Title, 60-minute Iron Man, because that's going to be a classic. Seriously, is that what you guys would want? Oh, we're gonna vacate, get him stripping the belt. We're gonna vacate the title, and we're gonna give it to Daniel, and we're gonna put Daniel Bryan against Dolph Ziggler. 90-minute Iron Man match, because that'll blow the roof off. Seriously, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I think the Schleg Daddy points it out right when you guys act like that, because what is that gonna accomplish? You know, sooner or later, if WWE was to do that, they'd give Brock another. Brock would come back, get another shot, probably become champion again, and then what? Then what? Exactly. What's the point? You see, you may not like Brock's schedule. Heck, I'm not a fan of the fact that he's not always there. And maybe this recent run that he's had, his more recent contract that's expiring, maybe it wasn't the best contract he's signed. Now, we don't know the specifics of this new one. We got to look at it that way. We got to look at it like this. It's like starting over. Everybody looks at WrestleMania as being the season finale of WWE, and the day after is the start of a whole new season. It's like even though they don't take days off, it's like when the Super Bowl is over, the football season's over. And then you wait another few months. In the WWE, once WrestleMania is over, some things still carry on, but but most things do have a conclusion. And when you look at Brock, should he retain, then you got to look at this new start for him, this new contract era and start for him with a fresh outtake. You got to be like, okay, maybe this will be better. You got to be optimistic. And the only way we're going to be wrong about it is when his contract comes to an end in multi-years, basically in a few years or something like that. And if his contract comes to an end and he doesn't make as many appearances as we were hoping for, and he's he's been the champion maybe 2-3 more times, then yeah, we'll have a right to complain. But we got to look at this new contract as a new, fresh start for him. We can't just, say, we can't just assume and say it's going to be the same crap over again, because it's not. And we need to wake up and realize that. And again, with no disrespect to any of you Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler fans or anything like that, but really, what would it accomplish to strip him of the belt, put it up for grabs, and then select someone like Daniel Bryan to go against John Cena or Dolph Ziggler for the championship? What would that accomplish? Oh yeah, you'd have a champion there every week, but would Daniel be defending the title every week? No, he wouldn't be. Would Dolph? No, he wouldn't be. Would John? That's been proven he doesn't do it every week. So what would be the point? And if you go back and you take a look at your history, like I said, and I think this is what Triple H is doing, whether you like the guy or you don't. Hold on. Whether you like the guy or you don't. Whether you like Triple H or you don't. Triple H is a student of the game, storyline-wise and reality-wise. And here's a guy that basically looks at Brock Lesnar, looks at how the championship had prestige and lust, if you will, had a lot of lustful prestige, if you will, in the past, and who held it then compared to now. And he wants to go back to that. And I'm sure he's trying to convince Vince McMahon the same thing. And he also saw that when whoever had the belt then, they didn't always defend the belt, and in its place, you would have the Intercontinental or the U.S. You would have the Intercontinental Championship defended on an equal basis, almost on equal pairing with the world title. And if sometimes you even had the Women's Championship, in this case the Divas Championship nowadays, defended on an equal basis, well, it was basically on par with the world title. So to me, honestly, folks, I think that's what this whole thing's about. And again, we got to look at Brock re-signing as a new chapter, as a new chapter in his career. We also got to take a look at it with a fresh outlook. We got to take a look at it at the beginning of a whole new year, a whole new season. Everything that's happened, everything that's going to happen after, everything that's happened before WrestleMania, and when it's all said and done, that year, that season, it's over. We look forward now. We open our eyes. We put everything that's happened in the past, we move forward. We look at Brock possibly retaining and being the champion still with a whole new outlook, and we look at this contract status he has with a whole new outlook as well. We got to give it a chance, folks. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the part-time deal over the past few years, but you know what? If you're going to try to bring prestige back, if you're going to try to go old school and bring prestige back to the major championships that need them, mostly the world title and your mid-card titles and your Divas titles, then whether you like it or not, the guy that holds the belt right now, the guy that has that limited schedule, he's the key. He is the key. And let's face it, folks, no matter how hard, no matter how much any of us would want it, WWE is never going to be like Ring of Honor. They're not going to be like Evolve. They're not going to be like Combat Zone Wrestling. Or even Dragon Gate or PWG. We got to wake up and we got to realize that. And as much as I'm a fan of Daniel Bryan, and I am, we can't always hope that he's going to be the solution. We can't always hope that guys like Dolph Ziggler, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, as good as they are as in-ring performers, that they're always going to be the solution. Because they're not. Sometimes the person that holds the belt and is not always there is the solution, whether we like it or we don't. And again, like I said, we got to look at his re-signing with a whole new light. We got to look at it with a new outlook, with a fresh outlook. We got to put everything that's happened in this previous season, we got to put that on the shelf and say that's the past and look to the future. And you know what? That's what I'm going to do. And again, I'll tell you honestly, in my opinion, the only time we can really judge is when his contract that he just signed last night is over and expired in a few years. Only then we'll be able to judge whether or not this was a better run for him than the previous one. Talk to y'all later. Comment down below.